Why do you think men struggle more than women to speak openly about mental health?
I think there's a general sense that there's a bit of this male kind of pride. You need to be strong. Opening up about struggling about mental health issues and sharing that is almost seen as a sign of weakness. I think it comes all the way from there may be some genetics, but also from our childhood, where boys, and I'm probably the same with my son versus my daughters, are supposed to be the strong one, physically strong, mentally strong, and then we kind of we transpose that onto our own others around us.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think like one of the big parts is fear of embarrassment. So like two of the biggest impacts on men's mental health are pressure at work and issues with finances. So sort of because there's this pride and the fact you're meant to be like a provider for the people in your life, to admit that you're either struggling at work or struggling with money can be quite embarrassing, and it is quite hard to get help and ask for help in that situation.
It's almost like you have to expose yourself a bit to kind of then realise that by exposing yourself, you're actually giving yourself a bit of comfort, because you're showing people that probably have similar kind of insecurities, that you're not as strong as others may necessarily think you are.
Yeah.
And what you find in response generally back is you get a real kind of positive reaction, and people want to help. People want to help people, and females are, in my experience, I've got two sisters, two daughters, are sometimes better at actually providing some of that empathy, but it's because blokes haven't really had a lot of experience in doing that. But the more we do, the better we'll be at that.
And I think because of the whole pride and the embarrassment thing, men don't tend to ask each other as much if they're okay.
What are some of the most common issues men face?
More common issues are really the way men deal with how they're feeling when they're depressed or anxiety. For example, men are much more likely to sort of take negative coping mechanisms like substance abuse, drinking, like throwing themselves into work, and reckless behaviour, putting themselves in dangerous situations. And I think stuff like that, when you're struggling with mental health, is sort of going to make it worse.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you on that. It's often how men will deal with things like that, but the things that they're dealing with, and I can again talk from my own experiences, is underlying insecurities. Again, we think, we perceive, from our childhood, from all these old traditional models, that we are supposed to be the strong person. And to your point, Adam, it's about how you deal with that, and about how open and aware, first of all, gaining awareness of that, and how open you are to seeking help. Counselling, psychotherapy, from my experience, it's the best thing you can do. We spend so much time on our our physical health, but we don't spend enough time on our mental health, and it's invaluable.
How can women provide support and create a safe space for men to discuss mental health?
But it's really by asking your friends, your male colleagues, how are you? How are you feeling? And it's not just that, how's your day, how's your weekend, and it's fine. How's business, how's work? Oh, it's okay. It's actually hard asking how you're feeling. What's going on in your life at the moment? Your relationship, showing an interest. Showing an interest, and asking how people are. Yeah.
And I think sort of just saying sort of to someone in a one-on-one situation, or just like, how are you doing? You don't seem like yourself. If someone seems stressed, if someone isn't acting the way they normally would, if they're a bit withdrawn, even just going for a coffee or going for a walk with them at lunchtime or something like that, or just doing something, or just being there for your friends and family, can actually mean a lot. Even if someone doesn't say anything, it can sort of push that person to go get help, just knowing that people are worried about them.
What steps can men take to prioritise their mental health and well-being?
I think one of the biggest things, I touched on the substance abuse and how men can sort of go down that path earlier, is replacing unhealthy coping mechanisms with healthy ones. Like, for example, it sounds cliche, but doing more exercise and just being outside more, and try not to withdraw. A lot of people withdraw into themselves and sort of isolate themselves both at work and with their friends. So I think sort of stuff we can do is, if you notice yourself withdrawing, try and sort of bring yourself out of that. And if you also think that someone has been quieter, or just not really been chatting to anyone, just reach out.
Yeah. I'd agree with all of that, and I think it kind of comes down to the point that actually it's taking personal responsibility. Again, prioritising things that you need for your own mental, emotional, physical well-being and health. It's really making sure you see that as not being selfish, because the more you look after yourself, the more you can help others, and the better impact you'll have on your colleagues, your friends, your family, society. And then recognising when you do go through difficult phases, times, that it's okay to ask for help. And there are many different ways in which that help can forms it can take. I know, again, from my own personal experience, I make sure I have access to a psychotherapist every so often. And it's just so useful. It's quite unusual for me, because I go into these sessions and there's no agenda, which I'm kind of a little bit uncomfortable about. But they're just the best things, the best sessions that I could ever have, and the best things, the best time that I can spend on myself.
I have recently just finished counselling, actually, but mine was the same, where there was no agenda, and that sometimes was a bit like, well, what are we going to talk about today, and get you a bit of anxiety whilst I was on the way there. But actually, I think that works better, because it's nice to talk about what's concerning you right now, rather than things that have happened before or going to happen in the future. If you focus on what's bothering you right now, that helps you for that next stage, or for when that time comes. Literally kind of like take each day as it comes. But again, with like the exercise thing, it's one of those things where there's been so many times where I've literally been lying in bed like, I want to go to the gym today, I want to clean my whole room, because just waking up in a better environment just starts your day, like silly just things like that. But then sometimes you just physically can't. But then once you do it, the impact you feel after is just so much more better. Like, you do feel so much more productive, and like you've had a successful day.
I think one thing I'll add is, because this is based on what you've just said, Liv, is one thing that's really helped me when I've been struggling with my mental health is when people have taken sort of actual physical tasks off my plate.
Yes.
Like, it's really easy to just lie in bed, and it feels like it's really hard to get out of bed and clean your room or do the washing up or cook dinner. So someone else, if you know someone that is struggling, just sort of, literally just washing up the kitchen or something, just providing actual physical support, even if you're not talking about what they're struggling with, probably does actually help that person quite a lot.
No, I would just say, to your point about, again, and it was mine as well, around a bit of anxiety actually going to counselling, trust the process. These people are so clever, they're so skilled, they will help you. And it's quite hard to trust that process, especially as they kind of, when they first start to unravel some of the layers, it's a little bit scary. But you need to let it happen, you need to be open, you need to trust the process, and that's both in terms of friendships, relationships, family, contacts, being open, asking for help. Once again, it's a strength, not a weakness.